Has Chinese leader Xi Jinping's emperor dream been revealed? China finished its key political meeting of the year, and one of the meeting highlights is sending shockwaves. During the meeting, two suns appeared in the sky in a city close to Beijing. The Chinese say it's a sign of something big to come. New evidence emerged that officials are underreporting CCP virus cases in China's largest city, Shanghai. 80% of China's medical care funding goes to CCP upper-level officials, and this is only the tip of the iceberg. And the United States is removing the CCP's entities of influence in the country one by one. Welcome to China in Focus. I'm Tiffany Meyer. China's top leadership concluded one of the key meetings of the year this Thursday. But one of the highlights of the meetings is raising alarms. NTD's Juliet Song reports.
On Thursday, China wrapped up one of the most important political meetings of the year, the fifth plenary session. The meeting would usually highlight party leaders' top goals, and this year, one of them is raising eyebrows. The goal in question is a 15-year plan called Vision 2035. On the surface, it's Chinese leader Xi Jinping's vision for what the country would achieve in 2035. But for many China watchers, it sounds like a signal of Xi's emperor dream. Ben Hillman, a political scientist at Australian National University, told the BBC that the plan has prompted speculation that Xi intends to lead China through this period, becoming essentially president for life. Theoretically speaking, Xi's term as China's leader ends in 2022, and according to party traditions, he would appoint the successor in this meeting. But this year, no successor was named. Also, under communist rule, China still has remnants of a planned economy. So it's typical for party leaders to draft a plan every 5 years, which they did. But a 15-year plan is really rare, even for Communist Party officials. Also, the plan comes at a time when China is facing ever-increasing uncertainties. With a battered economy and the pandemic, a 15-year plan seems highly optimistic. But Xi's plan may have been long in the making. China's law used to limit the leader to 2 terms, but in 2018, Xi removed the limit, which technically allows him to stay in power as long as he wishes. Juliet Song, NTD News.
During the CCP fifth plenary session in Beijing, unusual things happened. In the northern Chinese city Shijiazhuang, people witnessed 2 suns in the sky Wednesday morning. A video circulating online seemed to show 2 suns of different sizes in the sky at around 9 a.m. local time. Scientists say it's an atmospheric optical phenomenon. They call it a sundog, referring to a concentrated patch of sunlight, occasionally seen about 22 degrees to the left or right of the sun. However, many Chinese people believe that it's a sign of a new era coming, according to Chinese traditional culture. A master of Dao school, Li Chunfeng, lived 1,400 years ago. His prophecy book is proven to be one of the most accurate in history. He once wrote, "When 2 suns appear together, subordinate warlords will conspire a destruction. There will be wars, and the one against the law will be eliminated." New information surfaced suggesting that Chinese officials are underreporting virus cases, and local residents are saying officials are downplaying the severity of the spread.
Recently, the Shanghai Municipal Health Commission underreported confirmed CCP virus cases in a public report. About 20 days ago, a person returning to Shanghai from abroad had tested positive for the virus. This was near the end of their 14-day quarantine period when he was at home.
He returned to Shanghai from abroad. He took a nuclei test and stayed home to quarantine. Towards the end of quarantine, he failed the nuclei test and tested positive.
But the Health Commission did not disclose the case in their report. Instead, the report stated that all persons who tested positive returning to Shanghai from abroad about 20 days ago had tested positive within the first 7 days of their quarantine, and no one after the 7th day. In an interview with the local neighborhood committee staff, they told us that the person who tested positive may now have spread the virus because they had contact with other people, and those people will have had contact with other people, and so on. The Shanghai Municipal Health Commission denied that the virus has spread, saying in a public report that everyone the person had contact with tested negative. The interviewee told us that the commission's claims are likely false.
They quarantined a lot of people. Officials say they're all negative. That's false. It's definitely false. Think about it. The person who's tested positive has been in contact with a lot of people, and those people have been in contact with a lot more people.
Local residents said that a few days ago, hospitals and communities in Shanghai had greatly stepped up virus prevention and control, and doctors were being fully covered with goggles, masks, and other protective clothing. These are signs that the virus situation has worsened.
In China, Chinese Communist Party officials have many privileges, even when they retire. This is especially seen in healthcare, where 80% of China's medical resources go to the privileged class.
Chinese citizens often run into what's become a severe problem in the country: poverty incurred by illness. Some say once a person enters the intensive care unit in a hospital, decades' worth of savings will disappear in mere months. Many blame the country's poorly developed medical system, but the reason may be something else entirely. Yin Da-kui is China's former Vice Minister of Health. Years ago, he exposed that out of the annual cost of medical care in China, 80% goes to CCP officials. That's as 20% is used for the rest of the country's 1.3 billion people. In China, every provincial-level capital city is equipped with wards in their public hospitals. They're specifically designed for regime officials and other privileged people. There are also sanatoriums in various cities, made for high-ranking officials to receive care. The specialized hospital wards are labeled with different names, ranging from integrated ward to VIP ward to special needs ward. All of these designated areas inside hospitals share the same trait: a quiet, fully equipped luxury environment. Medical care at this level is very expensive. For example, staying at an ICU room here can cost over $30,000 daily. But the high price tag isn't only for privileged patients, as they pay with public tax money collected by the regime. Huge quantities of government healthcare funds are wasted this way. What's worse, the money comes out of the already limited government funding. Then Minister of Health Chen Zhu said during the 2012 Davos conference that China's healthcare costs only take up around 5% of GDP. That's lower than that of low-income countries. But the proportion of individuals' healthcare payments reached nearly 60%, a figure much higher than that of developed countries, and many developing countries. Again, no individual payment is required for CCP officials and those from privileged backgrounds. But this is only part of the story. Another section that comes into play is the 981 Chiefs Health Project. It was launched by Beijing's No. 301 Hospital, otherwise known as the People's Liberation Army General Hospital, in 2005. The project specifically provides medical care for high-ranking CCP officials. The facility is equipped with teams of expert researchers and healthcare staff, as well as cutting-edge labs and equipment. According to an archived screenshot, the project's research focuses on 3 areas: the health promotion module, so clients don't get sick, the youth revitalization module, so clients don't get old, and what's called Project Longevity 150. Its goal is reportedly to extend life expectancy to 150 years. Regime officials have a long history of taking from others to benefit themselves. Former communist leader Mao Zedong's private doctor, Li Zhisui, detailed some of the unusual practices in his book. That includes how Mao's wife arranged for young soldiers to donate blood for her own personal transfusions. That's because she's thought to have believed blood from young, strong men could improve longevity. Stephen Wesley Mosher is the president of nonprofit organization the Population Research Institute. During an interview with the Epoch Times American Thought Leaders program, he mentioned that some senior party officials received similar blood transfusions back in the 60s. He added that the transfusions later turned into organ transplants. The regime is also known for its forced organ harvesting practices, particularly from prisoners of conscience. Outside of medical care, CCP officials also enjoy other privileges, like luxury retirement benefits. The retirement system for Chinese officials is hierarchical. Officials at the county level and below will only receive a certain percentage of their salary after retirement. Same for their publicly funded medical care coverage. For officials at local, municipal, or city levels, they'll get 100% of their salaries and healthcare benefits, while those at the provincial level and above will be granted even more privileges and luxury. It's not uncommon for CCP top officials to enjoy enormous wealth. According to a Hong Kong political magazine, retired senior officials spent more than $10 billion annually in 2014. That's an average of over $4 million per person among the top 12 CCP leader positions. Reporting by Xu Wenhui.
The Trump administration is designating a Chinese state-controlled organization in the U.S. as a foreign mission. It's also withdrawing from an agreement to promote local-level cooperation between the countries. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo announced the moves on Wednesday. The Chinese organization is the National Association of China's Peaceful Unification, or NACPU. It's based in Washington, D.C., and is part of China's so-called United Fronts networks. NACPU often holds networking events for Chinese American immigrants and U.S. politicians. The CCP regards such organizations as a magic weapon to advance Beijing's policies. The administration also discontinued a 2011 agreement with China to build a U.S.-China Governors Forum. The U.S. said Beijing has since exploited the agreement to, quote, directly and malignly influence U.S. state and local leaders to promote China's global agenda. The Department of Justice is charging 8 people with conspiring to act as illegal agents in the U.S. The agency this morning announcing details of the charges relating to the Chinese Communist Party's violation of the U.S. law and international norms. NTD's Christina Kim has more.
5 of the 8 were arrested on Wednesday. These individuals allegedly took part in an illegal CCP law enforcement operation called Fox Hunt. Operation Fox Hunt began in 2014 under the orders of Xi Jinping. China describes Fox Hunt as an international anti-corruption campaign, but it also targets dissidents of the CCP and tries to coerce or threaten targets into returning to China. These criminal charges are the first of their kind. 5 people were arrested in New Jersey, New York, and California. 3 are still at large. FBI Director Christopher Wray says Fox Hunt is a part of CCP's diverse campaign of theft and malign influence, and that these actions are not isolated incidences.
Charges that will help China understand that surveilling, stalking, harassing, and blackmailing our citizens and lawful permanent residents carries serious risks.
Wray noted that these actions violated international laws and norms. According to the DOJ, one scheme involved New Jersey resident John Doe 1. For 3 years, members of the CCP allegedly ordered people in the U.S. to engage in unsanctioned and illegal behavior, all in attempts to coerce John Doe 1 to return to China. They left menacing notes on the victim's door, imprisoned his sister in China, threatened to harm his other family in China, and harassed his daughter online. According to acting U.S. Attorney Seth Ducharme, one note left for John Doe 1 read, "If you are willing to go back to mainland and spend 10 years in prison, your wife and daughter will be safe and all right. That's the end of this matter." When the Chinese regime couldn't locate one of their Fox Hunt targets in the U.S., they allegedly sent a representative from China to deliver a threatening message.
Chinese government sent an emissary to visit the victim's family here in the United States. And the message they said to pass on, the target had 2 options: return to China promptly or commit suicide.
Wray affirmed that the department's concern is not with the Chinese people or Chinese Americans, but with criminal acts committed on behalf of the Chinese Communist Party. He said these charges tell China to stay out and that their behavior is not welcome here. The arrested individuals now face the prospect of prison and will be tried in court. Christina Kim, NTD News.
The Department of Justice indicted a group, including a Chinese energy company, for stealing American trade secrets. NTD's Christina Kim has the details.
A group of individuals and companies in the energy, oil, and gas industry are being charged with conspiracy and theft of trade secrets. A Chinese company called Jason Energy Technologies, or JET, and an American oil and gas affiliate called Jason Oil and Gas Equipment, or JOG, have been charged. Lei Gao is charged with conspiracy, theft of trade secrets, and attempted theft of trade secrets. Robert Erford Jr., who worked for a Houston area company, is also charged. According to a statement from the Department of Justice, Gao allegedly met with Erford at the Jason Oil and Gas offices in Houston, where Erford signed a consultancy agreement. At that meeting, Erford was given a letter from the JET general manager. The manager allegedly invited Erford to visit the Chinese company to have a technical exchange and discussion. On or about November 22, 2019, Erfurt allegedly transferred a victim company document that had a trade secret from the United States to China for JET's benefit. Around November 25th to 29th, 2019, Erfurt held meetings with Gao and JET officials where they allegedly discussed coil tubing technology, including victim company proprietary technology, practices, and procedures. The corporate entities could face up to a $5 million fine or 3 times the value of the stolen trade secret, whichever amount is greater. Gao faces a possible prison sentence of up to 10 years and a $250,000 fine, or twice the gross gain or loss. Christina Kim, NTD News.
U.S. Customs officials seized millions of dollars of fake goods from China in Los Angeles. Customs and Border Protection officials said in a statement the counterfeit goods were worth over $3.5 million. The Los Angeles Police Department is now investigating the seized merchandise. Customs agents seized over 31,000 fake goods last month at the Los Angeles Long Beach port. Among the items were 25,000 counterfeit Viagra pills and over 5,000 items of footwear and apparel with the logos of Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Versace, and Nike, among others. All the goods came in a cargo shipment from China. The director of Los Angeles CBP Field Operations said in a statement counterfeit goods damage the American economy, adding the goods can threaten the health and safety of consumers. He recommends consumers only buy from legitimate sources to protect themselves. He said by buying fake goods, consumers are often giving money to transnational criminal organizations. Counterfeit goods flooding the American market isn't new. The FBI issued a report in August this year detailing how China costs the U.S. $200 to $600 billion annually in stolen trade secrets, counterfeit goods, and pirated software. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo hailed Indonesia's decisive action to protect its sovereignty in the waters near the Natuna Islands on the South China Sea. China also claims it as its territory. Natuna Islands is about 100 miles from the Indonesian coastline and about 1,000 miles from the Chinese coastline.
Our law-abiding nations reject the unlawful claims made by the Chinese Communist Party in the South China Sea. We also welcome the example Indonesia has set with decisive action to safeguard its maritime sovereignty around the Natuna Islands.
The Indonesian defense minister visited the U.S. earlier this month. Both nations agreed to enhance defense cooperation. That includes strengthening Indonesia's defense capabilities and U.S. arms sales to the country, as well as military exercises and intelligence sharing, among others. Prior to his visit to Indonesia, Pompeo visited India, Sri Lanka, and the Maldives. He is scheduled to fly to Vietnam later on Thursday. The Philippines is building up their own fleet to counter the growing Chinese threat in the region. The Philippines Foreign Affairs Secretary said they were building their own fleet to swarm all over the place in the South China Sea. He made the comments at an online discussion on Monday held by Asia Society. The strategy for flooding the sea with vessels is to increase the likelihood of one of the military vessels getting hit in the highly disputed waters. Such an accident would trigger the Philippines' defense treaty with the U.S. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said last year any armed attack on Philippine forces, aircraft, or public vessels in the South China Sea would trigger mutual defense obligations under the treaty. The Philippine Navy Chief Vice Admiral announced plans on Monday to deploy a fleet of over 200 armed militia to patrol the South China Sea region. The Philippines' top diplomat, however, added on Monday the country aims to maintain good relations with both the U.S. and China. The Chinese regime is marking the 70th anniversary of the Korean War in a high-profile manner, a war it fought alongside the North Koreans. This as internal documents obtained by NTD show that China has been financing the North Korean economy.
China has been secretly funding North Korea to build infrastructure. That's according to internal documents obtained by NTD. The years-old document shows that China's Jilin province, which borders North Korea, has been building cement grinding stations, highways, railways, power grid, and more. Each project cost up to $470 million of Chinese investment. Another 2014 document shows that China has been providing advanced agricultural technology to North Korea. Likewise, the cost falls on the side of the Chinese, while North Korea barely needs to pay anything. It's no secret that China has been assisting North Korea in multiple areas. Its relationship with North Korea is a major leverage for China to deal with the U.S. That's because the U.S. is worried about North Korea's nuclear project. And some American politicians believe in cooperation with China to tackle North Korea's threat. But this mindset may have been taken advantage of by the Chinese regime. A U.S. official recently accused China of helping North Korea launder money from massive cyber theft. That's in violation of international sanctions backed by China.
Not a surprise, I think, to this audience is the involvement of China in helping the North Koreans evade the sanctions. So in helping them launder money that they have somehow gotten or that they want to bring into the regime or that they've stolen. And otherwise helping them sort of move goods.
UN experts estimate that North Korea generated $2 billion last year for its weapon programs. They did so by using widespread and increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks to steal from banks and cryptocurrency exchanges. The official also said that it's an open secret that China has been helping North Korea circumvent sanctions. Beijing insists it fully enforces UN sanctions on North Korea. Penny Zhou, NTD News.
And that's all for today's China in Focus. Thanks for watching and see you tomorrow.